For all those listening, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Asad Hashim Ali, and with me I have Nageen Ansari. Nageen, how are you?
I am good, Asad. Walaikum salam and hello to everybody who's listening.
So, for those of you who don't know who we are the founders of Backspace, a creative solutions agency which works with design and media and brings about some best practices from around the world into Karachi and into Pakistan. Thankfully, we don't just work in Pakistan, we've also managed to expand our portfolio outside the country as well. So, a little bit about ourselves. Nageen and I decided to start off Backspace a few years ago, and from there, we've worked with clients that range from education to leisure to travel to sustainability to even customer experience and health and fitness. And the list goes on from there. And now, what we decided to do was actually bring our ideas that we have a discussion about on a regular basis to you, to everyone who's watching. And that's what Mike's On is. Mike's On is a conversation, it's a series of conversations collectively brought into a summit around mindset, innovation, communication, and sustainability, all of which we seriously feel that everyone needs to have in their arsenal, needs to consider, and needs to actually work on actively to bring about a positive change, not just for their businesses, but for themselves, for their families, for those around them during this coronavirus lockdown and this pandemic. We don't know when it's going to end, but what we do know is that we need to change, we need to adapt, and we need to bring about a positive impact to those around us. So, Nagin, let's actually dive in a little bit into Mike's On itself. When we were
hmm
talking about this a few months ago, it's been a few months since we actually spoke about this. What were your thoughts when we brought this up?
So one, Asad, that why do we need to do a summit? Because I personally have a very hard time listening to summits. Very honestly speaking, I see some and then I flag them for later, and it becomes difficult because a lot of the very interesting conferences, not so many summits around, I guess, but conferences, huddles, whatever you may call them, watch parties, etc., that you come across on your feed are happening at that moment, and then you forget. So I wasn't really sure how this would help initially, and I don't want to do anything that I don't feel is really doing that has a purpose behind it. So that was my initial thought, as you know, and I think we fought over it quite a bit until we reached a point where we realized that we weren't actually communicating exactly how we should have been. So when you told me why, and I realized that this is about the fact that very few people, so you and I love communicating, as just how, the people we are, we it's not because of
Mm-hmm.
only what we do. um, and I felt like if you and I are talking to so many interesting people and these conversations are so helpful to us, they would be helpful to the rest of the world, we know. So it only makes sense, and it's almost a responsibility to share this with the world instead of just sitting on it and talking to each other about it, right? Or to our team. So it kind of stemmed from there, and it wasn't always called Mike's On. As you know, Asad was telling me a lot of thoughts, words. We brainstormed a lot of words, and I wrote them down on my mirror for lack of work from home hashtag. And surprisingly, I walked into the room and I realized that it reads as Mike's, because these were the 4 words up there. And I circled them like a crossword, like a word search. And then I took a picture of it. And so a week or so later, we were, sharing it with the world. And yeah, that's how it came about, I think.
And I think, and that's how we became gung ho about it. And so a
Yep.
little, that's one thing where Nagin and I don't think communication is where our stars align. Also in that regard, is that we constantly look at how are we actually not just adding value towards the businesses that we work with, also, but then we're thinking about, okay, how can we take them from to the next step? What's that jump that needs to come, or what's that leap they need to take, whether that be a leap of faith or that actually be a data driven leap that they're 100% sure about. And that's what led to thinking about innovating. When people went into a lockdown, one of the thoughts that I had was that in China, there was a study which I saw. It was actually an article on Bloomberg, which was that the biotech industry skyrocketed. It started booming because during lockdown, there was a company which ended up making around $40 billion just by selling medical grade equipment and services and so on. And I thought that, well, in Pakistan also, we have some great minds. We have technology also now accessible to many people. There's a penetration of smartphones. We can create some form of impact to get people to solve this problem and to take care of the masses. We're not a country which is rich in endowment in any form also. So we do have to take matters into our own hands. And that's when exactly sustainability fell into place, that we need to sort out how are we changing the way we do things, how are we changing our consumption patterns, our businesses, our structures, our production process. How can we change that? We might not be able to bring that change in a matter of a day or a night or a month or a year, but we do need to start building that framework up, and that led to sustainability and mindset. I think that's crucial right now. Everyone needs to have an optimistic approach. Everyone should have a more positive approach towards the way they're carrying themselves. Also, um, we are in a time of survival, but we also have an opportunity to thrive in this situation. So, and again, back a few months ago, actually, or around a month ago, we came across some talks which were coming up on Facebook, and we signed up for them also just to tune in. Um,
Mm.
and there was a conversation. I forgot who the gentleman was. I think it was Ali Siddiqui was his name. He was talking about. He said communication, 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 communication. So why do you think
Yeah.
that 2020 has actually become a test of communication for businesses?
So Asad, when the lockdown began, a lot of people shared alarming sort of updates with us, and they said, people working in marketing and communication are just they're going to be the first to go. Everybody's going to cut them off their expense list because this is just a luxury, right? Who needs to really who needs it, and I think it was the very same people who came back with with a more open-minded approach and started talking to us about solutions in communication that we could actually deploy for them immediately. It's been a very seriously communication focused time for everyone from schools. My 4-year old talking to his teachers on WhatsApp and on Zoom. The 10-year old realizing what Gmail is and figuring out what Google Meet is and chatting to teachers, how to chat to teachers, writing emails to assistant headmistresses in schools, figuring out how to talk to somebody because they've never called each other on phones. This is not that generation. So ranging from that to the point that 65-year-old people learning to figure out how to work from home, tools, platforms, apps, phone calls. The simple fact that the duration of a phone call used to be a certain average number of minutes, and now you realize people are taking out time because life has slowed down and they're actually talking on the phone. So across the board, communication has become the most powerful tool. Brands are communicating, companies have to communicate. You have to motivate people to work from home. That's another kind of communication. It doesn't matter if you're a dentist or if you're a risk manager or if you're anyone. You have to learn how to communicate, and you have to. It's a necessity now. So yeah,
And 100%. And it doesn't matter where in the world you are. You will find these cases
exactly.
everywhere.
Very
You
true.
know, you will find Uber trying to you'll find Uber passing on memos of them cost cutting and having to lay off their team, but then at the same time you'll find them also having to acquire new businesses and voicing out why are they buying out new businesses when they were also cutting out costs. That can let some alarms out, that can raise some flags also. Companies
Hmm.
have to start also companies are sorry don't have to, but companies are starting to think about their people. Companies are also realizing is that the way they speak to on the news channels or on media has to be in the same tone that they speak to their team. There has to be that level of empathy now, because this crisis has led to, unfortunately, a lot of job losses, many job losses in the millions globally. And it's sad that this is not because of them now. This is because of a healthcare crisis which was in no one's control. And it's a time for empathy and kindness to start coming out also with people. And I think that in Pakistan, what's great is that you find these little initiatives being started off, like Mask Banao, um, a mass campaign on actually educating people how to make masks at home, you know, or facial coverage, if you don't want to call it a mask, but just to protect themselves from that. You find some ration drives also taking place, and this is not just in Pakistan, this is globally, right? So there's, I think it's a great opportunity also for, again, we say it's a great opportunity when there's a lot of pain and sorrow behind all of this, but something that I'm very happy to see is that there's kindness coming out of individuals. There is, in Urdu, insaniyat is starting to come out from people. There's trust, which we are starting to exhibit with one another when we're working from home. And again, you're a mother of two, right? We have this connection also, where we know is that you need your time with the family. And when the kids are there, kids see mom at home. Kids don't see mom is working at home, right? And companies also.
Except now they absolutely have to, because
Yeah.
they don't have a choice. Yeah, they have to learn.
Yeah. And at the same time, it's that they're understanding that that companies are also understanding that there are people are working at home, but the families that are there also, and timelines need to be adjusted accordingly. That reset. You have any thoughts on the reset 2020, which
No,
which
so
came out at the
I
start?
think the reset is an amazing. So the first article I remember reading which really hit home was the reset, because it was a word big enough to define what was happening. It was not that, we have to go digital, or we have to just, adjust this, or be patient. It wasn't. It was an entire reset. Like, you actually understand that whatever it was is over. You start from scratch and hopefully make it even better. But it is a complete reset. And I love the fact that the word reset contains a slight optimism in it, that it'll get better. It's not like a downgrade. It probably is an upgrade. Clean, your cache memory, etc., is cleaned up. So you're gonna perform better, faster, because you will have stopped to take this big pause. And another thing you spoke about, Asad, was very interesting, which was empathy. And so I also teach, right? And when I teach, I realize that even with work, but even while teaching, I realize that students are having trouble where they feel that nobody understands how they feel. And normally the decorum around, say, university students is that you don't mollycoddle them, and you don't ask them how they're feeling all the time, or you don't say, oh, your deadline is missed, so do you need to talk about how you're feeling? Why did you miss? You don't do that. You just say, you've missed your deadline, you're going to have to pay for it. So that's pretty much the attitude at university level. However, what we realized right at the beginning is that is just not going to work, because we had these Zoom calls in which there were 35 to 40 children staring at you, and you could see from their faces that it's not that they're deliberately trying to be lazy or inefficient. It's that they really don't know what to do. And as human beings, we're supposed to stop and check ourselves, and the way to deal with that is not default. The way to deal with that is to be a blank slate, talk to them and figure out, and then take your next step based on that. And which is why we started doing a lot of even at work, we started doing these venting calls in which you could just call up somebody who needs to talk about how they feel. And it's only in the interest of being human. And no, there's nobody who's going to sort of credit us for it or give us an award for it. But the idea being that it led to great results. We tried it out, and it led to good results with team members, with students, even with fellow teachers who were so burdened under work pressure, home pressure, taking care of their own kids at home. It was all empathy. Empathy became so powerful in the first few weeks that I think now, as a habit, we've all started using it every day. Don't you think that? We have.
100%. I see, no, most definitely, and I see that it's very very interesting to see that this is, as you said, with all age groups. You started off by saying that those who are at the age of 65 and still kicking it have to work from home
Yeah.
now. Those who were used to having help at the workplace to navigate their technology and what you may have it are left
Mm.
alone now, and their kids also may be working from within that same so-called office space as well. My mom is teaching, and for the first few months of this, there was no work really happening, and now all of a sudden they've gone onto Google Classroom. Two messages about Google Classroom later, they called in and said they said let's do a face-to-face Zoom training session, which is very good to see, because even schools are realizing that, well, teachers are the troopers right now. I feel that instantly within a night, teachers had to change their entire curriculum or their way of teaching that same curriculum. uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
we, for example, decided to pick everything up and just move it to people's houses also. And not
Mm.
and we were lucky that we're a smaller team, but there's banks as well that had to, again, uproot their own team from who are used to desktop lives and transfer them at
Mm.
home and make sure that there's still some goals that they're hitting, and there's some level of productivity that they can hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we need to keep, I think that this is also something that, until I personally think that this is also becoming a new normal on its own, working from home. Twitter
Mm.
recently announced that there will only be working from home. No
Yeah.
employee ever in the history of the company, in the upcoming history of the company, will ever work at at an office. They will only be working from home, right?
Wow.
And
That's something.
that and that change is coming. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think, Asad, that if we were to talk a bit about mindset from the angle of opportunity in this new habit, old habit situation we're in. So Asad and I often speak about this, and I think a lot of people would relate to it. That it's just a matter of changing habits, right? If we have certain habits, we're so comfortable in them that if we consciously tell ourselves that right now this is the time we have to drop certain habits. It is this moment is hurting me because I was used to doing this a certain way. It is going to hurt for the first few times, but then we are going to understand that a new habit and a better habit is going to take its place, and that essentially is change. That is what change is about. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a mindset. So there are also people around all of us who are complaining, who are perpetually depressed because they can't deal with the uncertainty. But one of the things we have to deal with is that this for sure is that there is going to be uncertainty. And so the minute you make peace with that, it's a mindset. You make peace with the uncertainty, and you tell yourself every few days that it's okay to be heading into the dark, because everybody is heading into it and it is nobody's fault. We can't even do blame games here. So what can we do? We can look at things as opportunities. And honestly, there are people all around us. If you look around, you'll find out of 10 people, one person who's making good use of this opportunity. So it is just a matter of finding good people to talk to, listening and feeding yourself with the right kind of information. Stop reading things that make you feel even more dismal and gloomy about the future, and start reading things that make you feel good about the future and make you understand that there is opportunity, and that when you come out of this, so many things would be happening in a much better, more efficient way. So many people have become environment aware. So many people have become aware of the little waste lifestyle they used to live, buying too much, spending too much, throwing away too much, asking for too much. So all of those things are mindset concerns. That if you look at it in a positive light, you'll come out flying. I mean, I that's how you and I have been looking at it, and we've also
Mm-hmm.
had our low moments. I mean, it's not like we haven't, but um, there is no other way. What choice do we really have, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think, and see, for all those also listening, I think that mindset, the M in the acronym, is not just at the top of it to make the acronym sound nice, but is there because that's literally the foundation of this whole of this whole summit. And as you
The
move
first,
on,
the first thing, the
it's the
first pillar.
first pillar, right? And as you move on into these conversations, you'll start noticing is that all conversations are reeking of it, are reeking of opportunity, are reeking of perception, of finding that opportunity, of finding that situation where you can make the most of something with as little as you have at that point in time. And that's all a virtue or an outcome of the mindset that you carry forward with you. um, a little example also in the conversation, in the summit, you will hear a gentleman by the name of Essen Mashkoor, who's talking about how just smartphone penetration has led to a completely new playing field for individuals in telehealth and in healthcare, and how that is actually being implemented has become the need of the hour. You'll find another conversation with a gentleman by the name of Omar Ghaznavi, who's primarily talking about sustainability, but his mindset element comes in where he mentions that you need to start thinking about what do you really need and what can you make do with, what needs to change and what can you make do with. And the list goes on and on. And I think that in these conversations, there's a lot of value. We've gotten those from in commerce, from sustainability and education, and ourselves in communication also. And every single conversation has some element of a positive mindset, a positive attitude, some form of having to step out of the box or maybe step back into the box, innovation, having to speak up and having to voice your opinions and also having to voice your ideas collectively, but making sure you actually get that collective together, communication, and also determining what that way forward might be for everyone, not just for their businesses, but for their families as well, for those around them as well. And that's sustainability. So, so again, as a final question, this actually gets me to ask you, how do you feel that all those watching this can use Mike's on the summit?
Okay, so I love the fact that we have started a conversation, but I don't feel vain enough to think that you and I have everything that is important and useful to say to the world who's watching and following us. And I'm a big believer in the iterative process. So the design of Mike's on, not the graphic design, but the design of this summit is meant to be feedback driven. If people want to hear something from a certain industry, you and I can help make it happen, of course, around these pillars, because that's what we believe is important right now. But at the moment, we have delved into the industries we believe are very important for the future, because that's what we work with, the future of the country and for the people who live here. So there's education, and there's tech, and there's sustainability and waste management and energy. But if there are things that people want to ask and they want to shed light on or know things about, this is only to spark curiosity. And I would love for people to share that in their comments, and however. We have the next season kind of lined up already, but this is ongoing, so we can do another one in 2-3 weeks, and then another in 6 weeks or so, and keep talking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea
And
is knowledge. The idea is knowledge. And I just want to add one thing here, which Asad, I feel very strongly about it. I feel like when and it's not an academic person thing. It's not because I teach. It's not because I love reading or anything. It's because I feel it is, wherever you look, this idea gets reinforced, whether it's religion, whether it's history. So you have examples of it. And the idea is, when a human being hits a low point in their life, only knowledge can save them. It could be knowledge about their problem, it could be knowledge about their self. So it's called self awareness and meditation and all of what therapy does for you. It could be knowledge about the world, so that if they have been through a tragedy, the knowledge of the world distracts them, and so they get some perspective. But knowledge is the only thing that can lift us out of any crisis in life. This is my firm belief. So I think that based on this, if this platform becomes a knowledge sharing platform rather than us telling people what we think, that would be a dream come true for me. And I'd be happy to even have people who want to come on the show reach out. they have something to say and share, inspire people with. Yeah, that's about it.
I think that's a very good point actually to mention out there. And that's a good summary of all of this. Again, Mike's On is a summit which we thought about being the need of the hour and being conversations which we thought were very important at this point in time. And down below, where you're seeing this on our website, you'll find a little comment card, a little contact form type section. And feel free to mention over there what you would like for us to speak about or to have on speakers which you feel can actually start leading that change that we're all looking to see for the near future as well. That's Nagin Ansari, the CEO and founder of Backspace. I'm Asad Hashim Ali, the COO and founder of Backspace. Together, we make co-founders of Backspace. And we hope you enjoy our very first virtual summit, Mike's On. Till the next one, till round 2, enjoy.